Hey guys, welcome along. Welcome back to the Bronco build, my way. La 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 la. This is part 6, and in this part I want to look at getting the booms fitted onto the wing, all square in both planes, and everything's good. Now, what I was going to do was make up a jig that holds the booms at the right distance apart, but I've done some measuring, done some calculating, and I think probably the best thing to do is to actually tape, or even, well, I'm not going to glue it in, but fit the tailplane, as it were, between the booms to get the distance correct. Now I've done some measuring up. What I've found is that this is 129.4 millimeters long. I'll just show you. So we've got this tailplane is 129.45 millimeters long. Okay. So that's 100. Let's get a pen and a piece of paper. So we've got 129.45 millimeters long, and then if we look at the distance of the mounting for the tailplane to the center, so we're looking for the center line here. So in fact I know that this is 0.7 thick, so if I do that and then add 0.35, okay, so let's make sure it's pretty square. That will give me the center line position. There we go. So that's 4.3 times 2, let's just check this one's the same, it should be. Oh, hang on, it is different. Let's get it square on there. This is a bit weird. Yeah, this is 4.6. So 4.6 plus 3.5 is 4.95. And then this one is that's 4.6 as well. Okay, so that's 4.95. So that's your 4.6 plus half of that antenna. So there's that. Now we've got 15, 18, 22, 25, and then we've got 8, 17, 19, 139.55. So what we're looking for is to see that the centers of these should be 139.55. So I'll measure from the outside of one to the inside of the other, and that should give me 139.55. And it's 139.8, which I'm not going to worry about too much, and they're equal. So 139.8. So we've got 0.25 difference, or 10 thou, between when this is all glued together, the distance that these tails will be apart, and the center line there is a 10 thou difference. Well done, Kitty. Oh, blimey. That is pretty impressive when you think this is 3 parts glued together that I've messed around with, and I've got brass in there, and then we've got these 2 parts here, and then you've got 4 parts here, and it's all going to go together. It is going to be within 10 thou dead square. Well done, Kitty. Oh, blimey. Okay, so if we're going to put this tailplane together, looking in the instructions, again, this is like right near the end of the assembly. In fact, it's on the next but last page. No. Right, E9 and E8 I've got here. We're going to glue together, and then we're going to put together the elevator, and that's just going to slot in the back. So we don't need to make up the elevator. We're just going to make up the actual tailplane itself. And what I've noticed is when you put it together, you can see here that the ends, there's a gap, so you can squeeze it together there, but at the end there's a gap, almost like these end plates are too thick. And if you try this actually in the boom, you will see that if it'll go in there, it does go in, because I've had it in once. This is crazy. That's crazy, I've had it in there once already. So I'm just going to take a slither of plastic out of there just to make it fit a bit better. I don't get this, I've already had this together. Maybe it was the other side, there we are. We can see that actually, if I show you here, we can see that actually the tail plane is thicker than the fairing on the actual boom itself. So what we need to do is sand this down, and if we look, we can see that the step is actually on the side with the pin on. So we're going to have to remove the locating pin. Both sides are the same. And what I'm going to do is, with a flat sanding stick, I'm just going to rub over that. In fact, I'm going to put some pen on there, because I'll use pen because it'll be a hidden joint. And then when I remove, when I'm sanding and all the pen has gone from here, then I know I'm level and flat. There we go. So it's not much to come off, and then when we put it together, we should find we get a nice flush fit. Oh, we've still got a step there, so maybe there's some on here as well. Yep, there is. There's a step on both halves. And there we go. Now we get a nice clean fit. And when we put that into our boom, make sure we get the right side. We've now got a nice parallel fit, as you can see there. In fact, there's a little bit more to come off by the look of it. And it's these kind of little things with this kit, these kind of little bits and pieces that will catch you out. And if you just go and start sticking stuff together, it's where you make your mistakes. See, that's gone together lovely now. Now the other end's the same, so I'm just going to do that one as well. I'll put some pen on here. What I intend to do is just sand. You can see this, the paint, the pens come off of there before there, so we know that the actual side rib part is higher than the actual main body part there, or the main area. And there we go, we've got both sides now gone together lovely. So we can, we've already looked at that side, look at this side now. And we can see that that side's nice and parallel too. So now we're ready to glue these together. So I'll get these glued together and then I'll come back to you. Right, so now I just want to look at one thing. You'll notice the areas of contact here are very thin, and the areas on here are quite thick. So I want to be able to glue this on one side only, and then be able to add loads of strengthening in there to get this a nice strong joint. But to do that, the wheel bay needs to be out. So I want to see if I can put this together and still get the wheel bay in. So if I hold this boom on like this, and then get a piece of Tamiya tape, you see it's all very sort of, there's no positive location or anything, which is part of the reason for me changing the build sequence. There's no real pins or pegs or tabs or anything for anything to line up. So let's just pull that, oh dear, let's just pull that down now like that, and then I'll put a piece of tape over the leading edge. And basically I want to see if this side is clamped in place, will I be able to get the wheel bay in? That's all taped in place now. So if I take the wheel bay and slide it in, I need to move that side over. This side will be glued solid. So So I need to get past that tab in there, and that goes into those location pegs. Yes, I can get it in, just like that. You can see it's in those location pegs in there. All things moved down. But yes, I can physically get it in and hold it all together. And that'll also, you see, if it's glued in solid on one side, it'll enable me to flex this around, okay, and then we can get this all square and then deal with this joint in here. But I will just show you something. I want to look at the fit. If I now tape that leading edge there into place, oh, I think this, I've got a roll of dodgy tape here. It doesn't seem to stick as tall as well as it usually does. Give it a pull and it just pulls off. And then if I fit this little wing section in here, just tape that in place. You can see we've got a bit of an issue with the fit there. It's not quite the same profile. But then if I take the fuselage centre section and offer it up, you can see that we get a pretty damn, if I line that up there on the front there of the fuselage, that's a pretty damn near perfect joint. There's a gap there. I mean, wow. You know, we're not going to worry about that. Bit of plastic card will sort that. But that is incredible, isn't it? And what I'm tempted to do is maybe fit the fuselage, get that all square, and then put that wing piece afterwards, rather than have those wing pieces determine the position of the fuselage. But yeah, really impressive stuff. Really pleased how this is fitting together. It's great, isn't it? So let's get this all untaped and then we'll start looking at getting these booms on. Okay, so I've been playing here for quite a while with this, and what I've realised is we need to put the landing gear bay in to keep all this, because it's all so wobbly and fiddly, that basically we need the landing gear bay in there to make it all rigid. And so I'm going to slide this in here like so. That's together like that. Make sure that back end goes in. If you remember, you need to make sure that back end pops in underneath the lip rather than sitting on top of it. Like so, there you go, it slides in under it like that. Okay, and it's a beautiful fit. You can see all around the edge, it is absolutely gorgeous. I wouldn't probably put any glue in there at all. So I'm going to get a piece of tape now and just tape this together, just to stop the front all floating about, because it all just wants to just wander around and go where it wants to go. And the other thing I've found is with this rubber band, when you hold it on like I've held this one on, it kind of pulls the sides in. So what I'm going to do, as I've done on this side, I haven't tried this side yet, put a piece of 20 thou plastic card down in there just to hold it open and make sure the card stays away from the glue joint so it doesn't stay in there. Okay, and that just holds it all apart so that it doesn't all just fall down inside, because when you put it on, that sits like that, and then it just wants to keep falling over and kind of spreading out over the sides, or spreading in, should I say. So I'm just going to slide this rubber band down now over there like so, and that will hold that in place. And then I can pull this leading edge over, get a piece of tape on there, just pull that around. You can see there, that's what happens, it keeps wanting to slide over and step over it like that. That's the problem. So that's what you've got to look out for. And I'm just going to tape this side as well, just so we know where we are. And it's all becoming a bit cumbersome now, but it's all worth it in the end. Okay, so we've got that in place like that now. Now, are we square? So if I put these booms down on my modelling board, you can't see it, but I can see down here I've got the centre line of the boom at the centre where the joint is, and luckily they line up perfectly at, what's that, 100 and just under 140 on here. So we said, didn't we, it was 139.5, so they're lining up at just under 140. So at the back end here they should also line up at 140, and I'm going to use the slimmer lines because it's more accurate than using the fatter lines on the board. Okay, and if we get the wing looking vertically down, if we get the wing parallel at the front edge, we should have those fairly square. This one's in a bit, so I can just nudge it out. You can see I've got movement there, and that's why I only want to glue one side, and then we can play with it afterwards. Now let's put this in, this tail plane, and see what happens. And I'm just going to check my camera shot, guys, because I'm not sure if you can see all this. Let's just bring the camera up a touch. There we go, that's better for you. So now we got it on, and actually I'm going to use the camera because it's better view than looking at the board. So looking at that, we can see that across the back here was square. The wing's not quite square at the front, is it? So let's just square that up. So it's all looking pretty good actually. So what I'm going to do now is just go on, and I'm not going to do it here on the camera because I'm going to do it somewhere else, because I'm going to have to leave it to set. What I'm going to do is, all I'm going to do is glue down these outside edges. I'm going to glue this here, okay, and then let it sit for 24 hours, let the glue go solid. Then I'm going to take these landing gear bays out and add some strength to those joints, and then we can get the landing gear bays back in and then get these inner sides done. And but we can see here, just for your amusement, we can see we've got quite a hefty model on our hands. I mean, the size of my hand, it's going to be quite a sizable thing, and it's going to look lovely. I know it's not quite the same scale, but against your Academy Hueys and stuff, it's going to look great. So yeah, lovely looking plane. I may well do that OV, is it OV-2? The twin boom Cessna. I may well do that one as well, but it's roded, isn't it? That's the trouble. Oof. Dear, dear, dear. Right, so yeah, I'm going to get this outside edge glued on now. And here we go. We're now looking like 3 hours later. This side has been glued all down this edge, so that is now glued solidly to the outer wing panel. And if you look down in there, you will see that I've put plastic card in there to strengthen the joint. So it's got super glue tacking it in place, then it's got the Tamiya extra thin to weld it in place, and then I've put plastic card in there just to back up. And then what I've done here is, if you look inside here, in there is super glue on top of that joint. But the other side of that joint, which is glued with extra thin, is super glue just to back it up. I don't like using super glue as a stress bearing area because it's so brittle it cracks, but I do like to use it for its speed of locking things in place, and then use the Tamiya extra thin to give you the weld action. So there we go. So now I've got, basically, I've got two steel blocks set at equal distances apart. I'm using the inner or the outer flap edge to basically get them sort of pretty much square in that area, and then I'm using a steel rule just to push the wing, just to make sure everything's square, and then I can look back here and I can see where these booms fall. Okay, so this one now is glued down this side, not down this side at all. It's all you can see there, it's all flexible. This side has still got the undercarriage bay in it, because if you don't have that in there and you put the elastic band to hold the basically hold it in, then it all just collapses. So I've got that in there just to make sure it doesn't collapse. And what I've done here, I have actually only glued the very back corner, just this rear corner here, okay, and that allows me to manipulate this up and down and in and out, whatever. That's basically the pivot point there. So what I'm going to try and do now is take this rubber band back here, and I'm hoping it's not going to just all fall apart, because as I say, super glue is so brittle, and the tape I've got is frankly awful. It's not sticking anything at all. So what I'm going to try and do now is remove this undercarriage bay. There we go, that's sliding out there, and that will enable me to, I've got a plastic card in there, let's get that out. And remember, this is only glued in that corner there with super glue, so it's all very brittle. And what I can do now is place this back down, get it all square, and I want to make sure that with these wings sat on those blocks, which are the same height, I want to make sure that this is all true and correct. And you can see that this is actually sitting up, so it needs to come up a bit at the front. So what I'm going to do is wedge some plastic in the front to get it so that it's not wobbling like that, and then super glue this point here, this point just here on the rear end of the wing, the trailing edge of the wing, and then that will make sure that they are both then square. So let me get that done and I'll come back. Okay, right, so now you can see I've got it back in position, the landing gear bay is out, and now I can push on this and it's not quite touching the bench. If I touch this side, it's touching the bench. If I touch that side, it's all springing about. So I've got this piece of 10 thou plastic shim in here, so I'm just going to pull it back, okay, making sure it will stay square. Still got a bit of wobble, just pull it back a bit. What I'm basically doing now is I'm doing this, I'm making sure the booms stay in the same plane, so they're parallel. See, this one's solid, this one's not touching the bench still. It's going to come back a bit more. This one's solid, this one's still not solid on the bench. Can come back a bit more. And there we go. Now we've got, look, that one's still got some play in it. Making sure it's square. A little bit more. And there we go, they're both now solid on the deck. So they're both going to be parallel. So if I now glue that in that position, we're going to be fine. Okay, so you can see that what's happening here is I've got the little wedge in there, 10 thou card. If I glue the front edge down, then we should be absolutely fine. We'll just test that now. And if I glue this down, they're both touching the, no, still that one is not touching the deck. There we go. So I'm going to glue that in that position and see how we get on. Okay, I just want to show you something here, guys. I've got this piece of 10 thou shim wedged in there, and now we've got the tail booms are now sat parallel to the wing. Watch this. If I clamp, this peg's falling apart. If I clamp the front section of that boom down, look at that, we get loads and loads of twist. So basically what we need to do is glue the rear part of the boom and then pull the front down to get it to sit, so that we haven't got any twist in the back. What I want to do, I want this to sit like dead parallel naturally. I don't want to be pulling it about and stuff. So what I need to do now is put some glue in this area now behind the wing root, and once again I'm going to use super glue. I don't like using super glue, as you all know, but for this occasion I'm going to use super glue purely for speed, purely to lock it in place before we weld it in place with the extra thin. So there we go. So that should be pretty much locked in place now. Let's just spray some accelerator on there and I get to work. So that should now be locked in place, and what we should find now is when we sit this on here, nope, we've got it all out again. So I need to break away that joint, like so, and hopefully it will now sit. Nope, it's trying to put a twist in the wing. Right then guys, here we are 24 hours later and things have started to settle a bit. So if you remember, I was trying to get this pylon to go, or this boom to go down and sit level with the ground. So 2 wings sat on here and the 2 booms are down. What I had to do, I don't know if your kit's going to be the same, but what I had to do was basically I put a piece of, remember I didn't glue the top of these side covers, and there was a reason for that, because I wanted to be able to flex around and move it around if I needed to. So what I did was actually jammed a piece of plastic card in here, in this gap, like so, and that pushed the boom down. Then I put a shim in here, glued that and let it go hard. Now I can take that out, and as you can see, when I pull this down I get a slight gap there, but that's nothing to worry about at all. If I'd had an issue and couldn't get it to go right, this side here, again that isn't glued, I could have shaved some material off of there and then pulled the boom down in to make it fit. But the way it is now, once it all goes together, you can see it all just looks fine. So and that is a removable panel anyway, so a joint around there isn't going to hurt. So we've got a piece of plastic shim in there, we've got a rubber band still holding everything together, and basically I can stick this wing on here and everything's all great. And if I don't know if I can show you in the camera, but if we look here, try and see what you can see. If you look here, you can see they're dead parallel, and that's what we're looking for. We don't want it to be sat with the you know, and when we look at it like this, we want the wing and the rear and the tail plane to be dead parallel. We don't want to be able to see, you know, difference in angle there. So that was my whole reason for doing this wing first and then putting these booms on. Now remember, it's only the outside that's glued at the moment, so there's still plenty of potential for stuff to start twisting, moving about. What I'm going to do now is take the landing gear bay out on this side, and I'm going to reinforce the inside like I did with this one. I don't remember if I showed you. What you've got to do here, make sure the rubber bands are right back, because if you take the landing gear bay out with the rubber band here, it'll enclose it in and snap it. Because remember, I haven't put these parts in because I want to make sure I get them to fit right here. I'd rather do a bit of work here than around this joint here with all the rivets and everything. So basically we should be able to now pull the inside of the bay out, and then pull the inside of the boom out, and then we should be able to pull the gear bay out like so. And I'll do the same on this side, get rid of that tape. Pull that one out, there we go, that's out. So there we go, and you can see inside here, I can't remember if I showed you this or not. If I'm repeating, I'll probably edit it out, but put plastic stiffeners in there, so you can see here, just so you can see it. Look at that, Added a piece of plastic card in there, a triangular piece of plastic card you can see down in here, to make the width the same. And then once it's all fixed in, put another triangular gusset over the top, so you haven't just got a butt joint, you've got a lap joint behind it as well, you can see down in there. So I'll do that now on this side. I'll trim all that and then let that go hard before I start pulling this around. And I think that is the biggest secret with this kit. I think this is one of these things you need to be working on while you're doing something else. So I'm actually doing resin moulding at the moment. I really want to be getting on with the Hellcat, which I will probably do later on. But yeah, this kit you need to be doing something else while you're building it, because it's just do a bit, stop and wait, do a bit, stop and wait. So yeah, I'm going to work in this area here now, put a gusset in there, get that all strong, and then I can pull the front around with confidence of not actually moving any of that. Okay guys, so something I've noticed here, we need to be really careful. Make sure you've got the tail plane in, not glued in, just in place, because I'll show you something here. The wings are sat level on there and everything's good. If I take the tail plane out, look at that. So obviously the tail plane has also got an influence, so be careful, don't build your model level without the tail plane, because you might find that when you push it in, it'll all go out of shape. So there we go, so put that in. Once again we're solid. So what I've done now, I've got the rubber bands back up here as you can see. I've just super glued these front and rear corners on both sides to check we're all still level, and I've put a tiny drop of super glue on the front there, just so I can check. And I've come along, the bulkheads still fit in. I haven't glued the bottom yet, as you can see. But this side is all butted up neatly, so you can see even with the bottom glued up, the bulkheads will still snap into place. And that's absolutely fine, it fits lovely. As you can see, it's staying in there without any glue, and there's hardly any gap around the edge at all, so another wonderful fit from Kitty Hawk. My only concern is this: when you look down on top of the wing, that's what you see. Now there's going to be a photo etch grill in there, but on the back of the bulkhead. Surely that's not correct. So if anybody's got a photograph they can send me of that area, I'd be grateful, or link to me on an email, nigelsmodelingbench@gmail.com. I'd love to see what should be down there, because I don't think that's probably correct. I think maybe that inner shrouding should carry on a bit, but with it being such a prominent area, I'd like to get that sorted. So I'm going to go on now and glue these sides solid with liquid cement and let it all go off again. Okay, so that's all glued up now, and I've glued up these parts here with liquid cement, so I'm just going to let all that set. So really that's about it. Now, people talk about Kitty Hawk's fit. After I glued this up, I thought I better get one of these shrouds off and just see how it fits. And you can see on the back of here there's a flange, and in there you've got a recess for the flange to go into. Look at this, guys. How's that for fit on such a complex shape? Isn't that wonderful? And the same on the other side. Look at it. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm beginning to think, no, well, I was thinking it would clip in place and stay there, but it just wants to pop back out. But look at the fit on that. Incredible. So, yeah, really pleased there. So that can go in the spares. But lots of bits for trialing here. And, yeah, just to show you the fit of the inner wing panel here is also very good. I think we looked at this before, didn't we? But yeah, you can see there the fit there is very good. And we've got this slightly raised area which depicts the fairing, you know, the raised fairing. So yeah, on the whole, really pleased. So I'm going to let all that dry, and just so that I can get another video out, I'm going to call this one a day. What I'm going to do now is see if I can get down inside here and get some packing in there to support this joint, because remember, this is going to be a very, very pivotal area of the aircraft. I don't want a weak joint, I want it to be strong. I'm even thinking about putting some plastic card in here to sort of bond the walls of the booms to the upper wing, if you like, and then that will make it really strong. Perhaps you've got some suggestions, then add them down below. So we'll call that a day for this part. I hope you've learned something from this, and if you are building this kit with me, then hopefully you're getting the same results, because I'm really impressed and I'm really enjoying it. I don't remember enjoying building a model as much as I'm enjoying this in a long time. So thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned, and I'll see you for part 7, where we'll look at getting these bulkheads together and stuff, and perhaps doing some work on the fuselage. I have actually got the Edard photo etch now. You know, I've got the exterior one. There's the seat belts, and there's the actual cockpit interior. I don't normally buy Edard seat belts. I don't particularly like them, but they were like £5, so I thought I'd give them a go. I might see if HGW would do some as well. I think I'd rather use them, to be honest. So there we go. So I'm not sure how long this has been. It's probably about 20 minutes, but not very long. But hopefully you've learned a lot from it. And also, you know, if you are building this kit, as I say, take some tips and perhaps build it the same as me. I don't think you would get results this square and good and everything if you built it the way the instructions laid out. So there we go. And also you can see here, this is going to need clamping together when the time comes. I'll just have to put a rubber band around or something. In fact, I'll do that now. You can just see then, while you're here, we can see if what happens is we end up lifting the see if we end up lifting the booms. The rubber band to be around there, really, don't I? There we go. So it's holding them together there now. I'll level those wings up. I know that one's come up, but it's such a tidy amount, I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm on a piece of, it was 20 thou. I haven't got this. I have. Here's a piece of 10 thou plastic card. Like that, even that sort of won't go under there. So if I slide that under there, it lifts it up. So it's nothing. The gap under there is nothing. So there we go. I'm happy. I hope you're happy too. See you later. Bye bye.